Why was that, do you think, that you felt you had to keep that bit of yourself shut off?
I think when I was an athlete, it was all about achieving the ultimate dream. For me, was to be Olympic champion since I was 14. And so an element of that is obviously to have a strength of character, a confidence around you, and ability to perform at your best when you're against the world's best.
Yeah.
And I think back then, if you showed any sort of weakness, let's say.
Vulnerability.
Yeah, then almost your opposition have got one over on you already. But equally, saying that, I never, ever would have believed that myself, being ex-military in 10 years, well, by the time I got to my worst time, which we're going to talk about, I was ex-military for nearly 10 years. I thought I was a bit harder nails. International athlete, just a normal person with a talent, trying to work hard to achieve it.
Yeah.
And I think when, I got into my state, it hit me like a brick.
Was that because
I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want anyone to think differently of me.
Yeah. Do you think that state, as you call it, came about because of injury? Because all athletes, when the Olympics is obviously your goal. That's what most athletes will be aiming for. And you seem to be injured more than others. Do you think because you were training so hard and trying so hard and yet there were obstacles put in your path, do you think that was what set you off?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. Because when I first got back into athletics, I was already 4 or 5 years into my army career, and I'd given up my junior international career. So during that time, I was really physically strong. So for a female, being a PTI, having to take guys, I wanted to always prove that I'm as good as them, and I would physically make myself as strong as possible. So I'd never give them anything that I couldn't do, just for to earn respect.
Yeah, of course.
And so when I actually then started to run more, I actually got weaker. And what happened was that I would train really hard, get to a standard. So I started winning medals back in 1994, Commonwealth Games gold medal was my first ever medal.
Yeah.
And I got stress fracture at my first Olympic Games. And at that time it was, devastating. I was 26, it's first Olympic Games, being told to go home. But I was there and I was like, you take the risk, break your leg or go home. I was like, I'll take the risk. I came fourth, got pipped on the line. And then it started being, well, if I can get to the Olympic Games, come fourth in the final with a stress fracture, then I'm all right, And almost the whole career went like that. Yeah. So this one year, 2003, I'd already won a silver medal in the World Indoor Championships. I was going to the World Outdoor Championships and I got another niggle. I was in France and just something came over me, like I suddenly hated myself. I couldn't believe that I'd had this other injury. I was going to be 34. I thought it was ancient when I was 26 and 30, let alone being 34 in sport. And then...
and were you still at this point pretending to the outside world that everything was fine and you were just fighting through?
Yeah, no one knew about this until I retired.
Got overwhelmed with that?
Yeah. Just the pressure in my head, I think, of hating the fact I was injured again. I just couldn't believe it. I was on this roller coaster
Was it you
ride.
that you hated or your body? Because at this, you've been quoted as saying that you self-harmed every day during this time. Was that almost a way of taking it out on your body for letting you down?
Yeah, I think people would take it out on alcohol, drugs, sex, whatever it is, and unfortunately suicide. And for me, it was self-harming was. It's a horrible word, but like almost a release. But it was, the pain that I was always getting, but the pain was like the mental pain, the stress.
Did you talk to anybody about it? I mean, no one in your family or good friends? Or did anyone not notice that you had
No, I used
scars?
to hide it with makeup and then you do it in places where people aren't going to see. I mean, because it's... Look, I never thought that I would ever get in that state. And when it actually happened to me at my worst, I was looking in the mirror. I was in such a state, I was putting on the water just to drown my tears because I was just like in this black hole. Yeah. It's almost like it's a cloud or fog. You can't see anything. Yeah. I've had two completely different experiences now of, depression, I don't think ever really goes. You just learn how to handle it. Like I say, when I was at my worst, I looked in the mirror, I hated it. I hated everything. I knew I had the dream still, but something was just making this head like a spaghetti, It was kind of, I could not see clearly. And then when I cut myself the first time, it didn't feel painful. It was just like because I was in such a bad state, it didn't feel painful.
Do you know,
but I was kind of thinking every day.
It's so important that somebody whose whole persona is as strong as you are to come on a show like this and talk like this for young people watching, that they know that what they're going through is not, you know,
one, you're not alone, and two, you can.
The main thing now is for me and anyone else, Prince Harry, etc., stop the stigmatism. All of us go through problems in life. What you've got to have is people listening. I started talking about this I started talking about this first in 2005. Obviously, no one really took attention of it. It was in the newspaper, it was then in the bin. Now people high profile are listening. Eyes are open. We now need to make sure that people are helped through situations to avoid the things that I did and the things that other people do.
But that's why it's so important that someone like you comes on and
I'm just a human being like
you
everybody else that had a talent and strive to do it, and everybody else in life are just trying to get through life and be the best they can be. So we just need help sometimes.
And thank you, Kelly.